This meeting is being recorded.
Bonjour, good morning, jambo, habari ya asubuhi. I hope all of you can hear me clearly. If you can, just give me a thumbs up as we test. Thank you. I can see from the chat, someone wonderful. I can see the thumbs up. Thank you, Namrata. Thank you, Latifa. Wonderful. I can hear you guys. That's amazing. This is nice. This is wonderful. Good morning, and I hope we are all raring to go. As we did yesterday, I would love to hear from us. What was our take home? What is this one thing that stood out for us yesterday? For me, I think that is critical to as a starting point. Was there anything that you learned yesterday? Was there anything that you relearned yesterday? Was there anything that you unlearned yesterday? I believe that would be a wonderful way to start us up, warming us up for today's session. And on the chat, maybe you can say good morning. You can tell us the revenue authority that you represent, and possibly tell us either learned that you did not know, relearned that you knew but you had forgotten, or unlearned something that was a bad behavior that you picked up, that you were doing, but then you have shed off. So thank you for the comments on the chat. I can see Tabang. I think Tabang is from South Africa with the thumbs up. Simaram, thank you so much. Corinne from Seychelles, thank you and welcome. So Aika, Stefano from Tanzania with the thumbs up, and Selma with the thumbs up, Maureen. Izungo, good morning. Wishing us all a good morning. Thank you. Randy from Mauritius. But guys, it's like you have not heard me. I'm asking, what did we pick up yesterday that was new? What is it that we learned? What is it that we unlearned? What is it that we relearned from yesterday's session? I think that's would be a wonderful way to start us off, even also to, for our facilitator to be able to know what picked up. Yesterday, during our recap, a lot of us mentioned the spaghetti bowl. So I know that was a concept that really, touched us. So what about yesterday when we were looking at the concepts? What is it that really stood out for us? What is it that we took home yesterday? I'd love to hear that. So let's share. For us in adult learning, it's more of a best practice sharing. So I would love to hear from you, to hear from.
Jana amenitext. Na jamaa inanicall jioni ati jioni
Welcome, Tom. Tom, welcome. Are you sharing with us something that you learned yesterday? Okay, wonderful. Faraji from TZ, Tanzania. Faraji is saying he had a great time of understanding cumulation, absorption, and tolerance principles in as far as the continental free trade area. Wonderful, Faraji, that is amazing. Those are, absorption tolerance. So that's amazing. Isaac, I think, I believe is from Uganda. And Isaac also is an integral to African intra-trade. Yes, Isaac, you just reminded me of yesterday, where there were those calls that as Africa, we need to, step it up towards benefiting from what is available to us. So thank you so much, Isaac. Namrata, I believe Mauritius. Namrata says, what are the conditions that need to be met for a good to get preferential treatment? So we have originating products, we have the territorial origin. And two ways the goods can be originating, either they are wholly produced or there's the substantial transformation. Wonderful, thank you, Namrata. Isaac, my apologies. I saw Kachoma and I immediately went to Uganda. I think I am a bit biased when the Ugandans were introducing those goods that were originating from them. They were talking about food, and I love my food. So I was just hearing, bananas and stuff like that. So I think that is why everything I see, it takes me towards Uganda. Ugandans, please, if you can adopt this gentleman, think about that. So thank you, Isaac. My apologies. Isaac Kachoma is from Tanzania. Thank you, Isaac, for that. Cynthia from Zambia Revenue Authority shares that she learned the way of calculating value addition and material context in an easy way, though there was some capture everything. Cynthia, I believe our facilitator, usually also have the technical team, which should be able to assist you. So Cynthia, this is well noted. Queen, I believe we can be able to pick up on that aspect, that on the calculating of value addition and material context, because the screen had something and she was not able to pick up. John from URA, accumulation, tolerance and absorption were critical, and yes, indeed, pillars for rules of origin. And indeed, thank you so much. Yes, Namrata, you confirmed you're from Mauritius, a wonderful country. I have been fortunate enough to go to have been there, and very nice, sociable people. Were treated like royalty there. You guys are, great guys. So Randia says we have a good refresh on the rules of origin principles and the different types of absorption, and also how value tolerance can be used. Perfect, lovely. We were looking at the concept of origin and rules of origin, and these are the principle. These are the basics of rules of origin. So this is wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Anselma. You said you understood about cumulation, tolerance, and also a better understanding of our role as customs in ensuring fairness in the collection of duty. Wonderful. Every time I talk to people, I emphasize on the aspect of facilitation of trade. That although as developing countries, revenue collection is critical, but then that fairness, that neutrality, that consistency has to be there. We don't have a choice in that. So yes, I hear what you're saying, and Salma, thank you so much for that. Then Stefano from Tanzania says, I have got valuable moments to refresh on criteria for marine products to qualify for preferential treatment, flexibility tools, cumulation, tolerance, absorption, and related concepts on unit of qualification sets, packing, packaging materials, and containers, accessories, spare parts, and neutral elements. Wow. Stefano, you seem to have captured so much that we are having reactions on your reaction. That is, we clap for Stefano for making this, that I don't think it's easy to get that in our comments, and people are reacting to that. So thank you so much, Stefano, for that. Wonderful. Do we have a South Africa in the house? I've not heard anyone from South Africa saying hi this morning. Do we have someone from Zimbabwe in the house to say hi? Thank you. It's like you heard me, Sandra Chihaka. Thank you so much, Sandra. Sandra from Zimra says she got a better grasp of flexibilities. She got a better grasp of flexibilities. Wonderful. Which country have I not mentioned? Did Ethiopia manage to join us in the training? We have
Yes.
someone from wonderful.
Yes,
Do we have them here?
Botswana, Angola, Madagascar, they are here too.
Oh, wonderful. Do we have anyone from Botswana who wants to say hi to us? Angola, Madagascar. We have someone from Seychelles, Mauritius has spoken. We have Uganda, Tanzania. I believe those are I don't know if I've left anyone behind. Please feel free
Kenya.
to say hi, guys.
Kenya.
Kenya. Brian, good morning. Brian from URA says he learned and understood the value-added principle and material content, and appreciated the different trading blocks, applied different trading blocks apply different principles to offer preferential treatment under AfCFTA of barriers. Thank you, Brian. You know, this is the beauty of you know, having it, looking at it now at that general kind of overview, that now it's not just ESC, it's not just COMESA, it's not just, you know, we are not looking at it we get to reap the benefits of you know, having those numbers. So yes, I love that, Brian. Thank you so much for that. I really think that is actually the way to go. Thank you, South Africa, for joining the fray. We have Alzira, who has wished us a good morning and confirmed that South Africa is in the house. We have Molefe Johannes, also from South Africa. Thank you so much. Enoch, are you sharing something with us? Okay. Yes? Okay. So we have Francis Mugambi from KRA. Thank you so much, Francis, for representing the 254 Kenya. And Francis says that he learned about the 4 types of cumulation: bilateral, regional or diagonal cumulation, full cumulation, and extended cumulation. Thank you very much for those details. We have Jennifer Babazi from URA, and she says there was better understanding of the tolerance and absorption principle. We have Adela from Tanzania, and Adela says the de minimis rule is clear now, and is a new and valuable piece of knowledge. Thank you. I'll give that a heads up. I love that you've picked up something new, Adela. Then Consolata Mucholi says that she learned about the change in tariff. The basket that was made of non-originating material qualified for preferential treatment, and then the types of cumulation, qualifying and non-qualifying products. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I can see Nikadub from Bridget from Zambia. And Bridget also says that she gained a deeper understanding on cumulation and various types of cumulation. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me not take up much time. Thank you so much for that warm, you know, morning recap. That was powerful. It was not just only the concepts, but we also picked up on you know, looking at the application bit of it. And I think that is very critical. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me not take up a long time. Let us warmly, you know, give a warm round of applause for our facilitator as she prepares to come in. The one, the only Queen Latifa Said Omar. A warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as she takes over. Latifa, karibu sana for today's session.
Okay, thank you so much, Katana. Good morning, everyone. Maybe we should clap for him first before I pick the warm welcome for the session. So, Katana, we are clapping for you now before I take the floor. So, thank you so much and good morning, everyone. So, today we are going to dive into the AfCFTA rules of origin, and I've noted the calculations that we want to do as highlighted by Cynthia. So today we're going to be doing some of the calculation. Now we are relating them to the AfCFTA rules of origin. So we'll have exercises, we'll have breakout rooms, so where you can be able to discuss. So let me share the presentation. So today we'll be kind of moving from the PowerPoint or the presentation to Annex 2 and then to Appendix 4. So if you are able to access Annex 2 and Appendix 4, we can also be, you can follow through in Annex 2 and Appendix 4, because it's good to know we have seen tolerance, we have seen cumulation, and now we will want to see how the AfCFTA in legal text has presented the accumulation, the absorption, the tolerance, so that uh, when you're applying this concept, you don't say that I saw them in the presentation. We are able to point where we can find them in the legal text or in the legal documents that we have in relation to the AfCFTA. So presentation, Annex 2, Appendix 4, those are going to be our main focus, and then we'll have the exercises in breakout rooms. So I hope we are ready to go, everyone, and welcome. Okay, good morning again. So welcome to today's session. So we are going to look at the AfCFTA agreement and its rules of origin. So I hopefully everyone managed to do the self-learning module. So I'll just highlight some few issues from the AfCFTA itself, and then we'll dive into its rules of origin. So the AfCFTA is a flagship project of the African Union's Agenda 2063, which is the Africa we want. So the agreement entered into force on 30th May 2019. So currently 48 countries have ratified the agreement and deposited their instrument of ratification as of August 2024. Since we are supposed to be 55 members when each and every country has ratified, so we need to be keen when we are giving out the numbers that is up to which date. So, but still, up to now, the countries that have ratified still stands at 48. We were hoping Madagascar will be joining us so that we could be 49, but it's not too late because we still have one member to sign, which is Eritrea, and then there are 5 more members to ratify. So we still have time to get the numbers up to the 55. So up to now, the agreed rules of origin are covering 98% of tariff lines. So that's a very good number to see these the rules of origin are there. The specific rules for the different commodities or goods have already been agreed, though the ones for textiles and automotives are the ones that are bringing a headache. but hopefully they may be also concluded. So the AfCFTA was members had agreed that it will start trading on January 1st, 2021. And you'll find that the initiatives that have been put in place to see that trading takes place, like the guided trade initiative, where exporters are guided on how to export to countries that they don't have a common regional economic community. So you'll find that there were shipments from Kenya to Ghana, Rwanda to Ghana. We had a shipment from South Africa to Kenya. Recently, there were shipment from Namibia. So you'll find that those are not you can say, the normal shipment that we get, because we find that we don't have a common regional economic community with some of those countries. So you'll find that the guided trade initiatives was trying to push that we can be able to do this. We don't have to stick to trading with only the members that we have a regional economic community with. So that's the numbers in relation to who has ratified. So Sudan, South Sudan, Libya, and Benin have not yet ratified. Somalia and also Madagascar, and then Eritrea has not even signed the agreement. So here we have the dates when the country deposited their document for ratification. So the last born currently is Liberia, which deposited last year in July 31st. So general presentation of the AfCFTA agreement. So we have trade in goods. So the objective of having trade in goods is to phase out tariff and non-tariff barrier. So tariff, lower duty rate, or maybe duty rate is completely removed, and then trying as much as possible to remove these non-tariff barriers, which are the ones you can say hinder the flow of trade, because we find that some of these non-tariff barriers might be ad hoc. They may not have any legal basis. They can just be spur of the moment, and we find that it end up being the responsibility of customs, because you'll find that customs will be given that instruction that you need to stop goods coming into the country. So you'll find that in the end, we get to be blamed that we are the ones causing barriers to trade, but you'll find that some of them we get instruction from partner government agencies or from ministries to stop maybe those consignments getting into the country. And then increasing the volume of intra-African trade. So you'll find that most of the trade is out of Africa than within. So it's hopefully that we are going to increase the volume that we are trading with each other. And then improving the efficiency of customs procedures, improving cooperation on technical barriers to trade, and then promoting regional and continental value chains, so that instead of exporting the raw materials as they is, maybe we can add value addition within the continent. If we don't have the capacity in our country, is our neighbor having the capacity to process the goods instead of exporting them raw? And then we have also trade in services. So progressively liberalizing trade in services, strengthening competitiveness, promoting sustainable development, and attracting investment. So we can say that our focus as customs is on goods, but we'll find that those goods will need to be transported to our countries for us to be able to clear them. So we will still need trade in services. So it's not kind of like our focus is trade in goods, so we are not going to be concerned with trade in services. It plays a crucial role in ensuring those goods are going to move from one country to another. So the AfCFTA framework. So The negotiations were divided into two phases. So the first phase was focusing on trade in goods, protocol on trade in services, protocol on rules and procedures on the settlement of dispute. So dispute will arise because you'll find that maybe someone is going to try to take advantage of the preferential treatment. So dispute may be there that may arise. So you'll find that there is need to have some procedures or rules concerning how to settle dispute. And then phase 2 was on protocol on investment, so that if maybe we are not able to establish these industries within our country, are there people maybe from other countries within or outside the continent who are able to invest so that we can be able to produce the goods within the country or within the continent, or we can be able to process the goods without sending or exporting raw materials outside the continent. And then protocol on competition policy, protocol on intellectual property rights, protocol on women and youth in trade, and protocol on digital trade. And you find that we can say that the protocol on women and youth in trade is kind of like for COMESA and EAC are those simplified procedures for traders who are maybe sharing a common border. So you find that it covers, you can say, the small scale border traders in ensuring that also they're going to benefit in all these arrangements. So the protocol on trade in goods, you'll find that it has annexes, and these annexes are the ones that you can say touch directly to our customs heart. So Annex 1 is schedules of tariff concession. So tariff concession are the duties that members are willing to charge on the different items, and this tariff concession, you will find that they'll be lower than the most favored nation tariff rate. So we need to know what are the applicable tariff rates, because you'll find that the AfCFTA does not just remove tariff just at once. Maybe the duty was 25%, and since we are in AfCFTA, it means there's no duty, because also it took into consideration that there are countries that maybe they rely so much on the revenue from imported goods, such that if we remove, it means that we will not be able to sustain our countries. So you find that the schedule of tariff concession show us or gives us the way on which tariff are applicable before maybe we get to that 0% duty in either 5 years or in 10 years, depending on the level of development of our countries. And then Annex 2 is the rules of origin, and that is our focus. So Annex 2 and then Appendix 4. And then we have Annex 3 is customs cooperation and mutual administrative assistance. So remember, we cannot say only one country is going to put all the effort for this to work. We need to cooperate the customs administration to make it work. Are you able to get information if maybe in doubt whether the goods are actually originating from the other country, or you want to confirm the documentation? So customs cooperation is also very important in making the AfCFTA work. And then trade facilitation, Annex 4 is also right into our heart. And also you'll find that the trade facilitation Annex 4 in AfCFTA is similar to the trade facilitation agreement of WTO. So you'll find that it borrows heavily, but you'll find that apart from having the WTO trade facilitation agreement and Annex 4 trade facilitation, you'll find that also we have the World Customs Organization tools in relating to facilitating trade, like revised Kyoto Convention. So trade facilitation, in all this we are doing, we need to keep in mind that we are going to be facilitating trade. And then Annex 8 is on transit. So you'll find that there must be clear rules, because if we are going to make this work, remember we have the north and then to the south. So if their goods going to move maybe from Egypt to South Africa, they'll be passing through several countries, especially if they are going to use road networks. So we must have clear rules concerning transit. And then we have trade remedies. And you'll find that also we have SPS and TBT, though they are not directly our concern, but we'll find that we'll be the ones implementing them when maybe the ministry issues maybe some requirement relating to importation of animals or plants. So tariff concession offers were based on the HS of 2017. So the goods or the commodities or the tariff line were categorized into three: category A, B, and C. So category A represents non-sensitive products. So those products that you are willing to open up the market so that they can be brought in and a lower duty rate, and with time it's going to be no duty. And then category B represents sensitive product. So for these ones, you'll find that you may not be willing as a country to, you can say, completely lower the duty to zero, but you'll find that you still need to open up. And then category C represent excluded products, which is 3%. So there are those products that are excluded, so that you'll find that maybe because those goods are very sensitive, maybe the country depends on those goods as the backbone of their country. So it means if they open up the market for those goods, they will be killing the local industries, and maybe the prices of those goods will go lower, and maybe the people who are producing them will not be benefiting in engaging by selling those products. So those are the three categories of goods. So during the 9th AfCFTA Subcommittee on Rules of Origin meeting, there was transposition of Appendix 4 to HS 2022, but you'll find that it's not many tariff lines that were affected when they were moved or they were transposed to HS 2022. So you'll find that the Appendix 4 we are still using is based on the HS 2017. So it has not been updated to be circulated as of yet. So Cynthia is saying, in which category of goods do the textile and automobile fall? So you'll find that between the non-sensitive and sensitive, so our colleagues from South Africa are a bit sensitive because they have at least established their automobile industry, so kind of a bit sensitive and non-sensitive. So it's not excluded, but between the two. So the tariff concession, so the tariff reduction is supposed to be fully liberalized for the non-sensitive goods over 5 years. So it's a linear cut. So if we have a product that is designated as non-sensitive, maybe motor vehicles, not really motor vehicles, maybe we can say electronics. So if electronics are non-sensitive and the duty that we charge is 25%, then it means we are going to liberalize it over 5 years. So each year we are going to reduce 5%. So the base year is 2021, because 2021 is when we wanted to start trading under the AfCFTA. So in 2021, duty is 25%. In 2022, we reduce 5%, so it will be 20. In 2023, we reduce another 5%, it becomes 15%. In 2024, another 5%. So we reduce another 5% is 10%. In 2025, we reduce another 5%, is now 5%. And then in 2026, duty for electronics will be 0%. So that's how we say linear cut. So you reduce the duty to 0 over 5 years if it's for non-sensitive product, and if the country is non-LDC, so it's a developing country. So that's how the developing country are reducing the duty or the tariff for the non-sensitive product. And then for LDCs, they are reducing over 10 years. So the 25% duty, it means each year they're going to reduce 2.5% until the 10th year, when it's going to be 0%. And then for the sensitive, you'll find that it's going to be liberalized for over 10 years for developing countries, and for the LDC to be liberalized over 13 years. So still linear cut. So every year you reduce by the same percentage until you get to 0 after 13 years, and the base year is 2021. So for the excluded product, there is no cut. The duty is going to remain the same, the most favored nation tariff rate, unless there are other bilateral arrangements that countries have entered into. So this is how the linear cut looks like. So the base year is 2021, and then now the duty is reduced over 5 years for non-sensitive, and then for sensitive over 10 years for developing countries, and then for the least developed is 13 years for the sensitive goods. So Faraji is saying how countries have been arranged in LDCs and non-LDCs. So you'll find that the countries designate themselves as either LDC, least developed countries, or non-LDC, which means is developing country. So they designate themselves, and we find that they have guidelines from the UN on whether a country can meet certain criteria. Has been set that if you are able maybe to offer health services in your country in relating to education, so you'll find that there are certain you can say measures that countries will gauge whether we are able to meet this gauge. If they're not able to meet the gauge, then they will designate themselves as LDCs, or if they're able to meet, you'll find that they'll be developing country. But you'll find that also that one can be subjective, because you'll find that China still designates themselves as developing country. So if China is designating themselves as developing country, and they have not changed, because that's when they joined World Trade Organization, they were developing, but we have seen China has advanced so much, so but they're still using the same designation as developing country. So it's the country which says whether I am developing or I'm least developed countries. And also when you designate yourself as either of the two, maybe there are certain incentives you may get, and maybe also it becomes a disadvantage, because we find that LDCs countries may get more aid because they're considered least developed, but also you'll find that investors may shy away in investing in LDCs. They may prefer investing in developing countries. So you'll find that both has advantages and disadvantages. So Cynthia is saying, what are the consequences of a member state fails to meet the linear cut as prescribed? So I can say maybe there are no consequences. Remember, our regional economic communities, we may not have sanctions, but maybe unless it escalates to being a dispute, then it can be taken over by the dispute settlement. But if it's just they are not meeting the linear cut, no one is going to give them sanctions. So unless now it becomes a trade dispute, then it will be taken to the trade dispute settlement body for resolution. But if no one is complaining, people will just do what they want. So sometimes we need to reflect, why did we join if we don't want to comply? So that's my view, unless maybe someone has something to add. So that was just a brief on background of the AfCFTA, which also supplement the self-learning module. So we go to the AfCFTA rules of origin. So the legal basis for the rules of origin under the AfCFTA is Article 13 of Protocol on Trade in Goods and Annex 2. So Lenny is asking, for a new member, does the base year start from 2021? Yeah, so that's the base year for AfCFTA. So it doesn't matter when you join, but also you need to be able to see that your country will have put up measures when you ratify the agreement. So the base year is 2021, whether you had joined before 2021 or you're going to join later after 2021. So Stefano, you're saying if Eritrea join AfCFTA today, how will they be treated in line to the linear cut, since we are now 5 years from the base year? So you'll find that we are still counting the base year, but remember also the tariff concession. Countries are giving their tariff concession. You'll find that this year Ethiopia gave out their tariff concession for AfCFTA. So you find that there may be countries that have not presented their tariff concessions to the AfCFTA Secretariat. So you find that for those ones who have provided, then the linear cut will apply. But for the ones who have not yet provided, it means they are still consulting within their country, because you'll find that they need also to organize themselves, that when we give out these tariffs, we are going to not maybe get into panic mode because we are losing revenue. So goods shall be eligible. Okay. So it's in NEO. So this is the linear cut for tariff concessions. I hope it's this document you wanted to see, the slide. So tariff reduction, and then the linear cut. So in here, we are okay. Okay. So goods shall be eligible for preferential treatment under this protocol if they are originating in any of the state parties in accordance with the criteria and conditions set out in Annex 2 on rules of origin, and in accordance with Appendix 4 on general and product-specific rules. So you'll find that Article 13 is on the rules of origin from the protocol on trade in goods. So it says that we need to know the origin of the goods under the AfCFTA, and that is where we are going to get the rules, Annex 2 and also Appendix 4. So you find that Annex 2 will give the general rules, and then Appendix 4 is going to give us the product-specific rules. So the purpose of this annex, so Annex 2, is to implement provisions of the Protocol on Trade in Goods concerning rules of origin and to ensure that they are transparent, clear, predictable criteria for determining eligibility for preferential treatment in the AfCFTA. So are the rules of origin clear? Are they transparent? Are they also predictable? So you find that all this is key to, especially to traders and also even for us as customs, because we are going to apply. If they're not clear, it means we will not be able to apply and also implement. And also for the traders, you'll find that they want them to be predictable. They don't want to be caught off guard that these are the new rules without being notified. So you find that the purpose of Annex 2 is to make sure that the rules are transparent, clear, and predictable. And you'll find that also this cut across most preferential rules of origin, that they want them to be transparent, clear, and predictable so that traders can be able to utilize them and benefit from those preferential arrangements. So structure of the AfCFTA rules of origin, so Annex 2. So we have Part 1, definition. So Article 1 is on definition. So you'll find that most legal texts will have definitions so that when you get, there are some terms when maybe used in another context may mean something else. So they specify these terms in relation to when applied to rules of origin. A good example is chapter. When we say chapter, maybe if we are looking at any context, we are talking about chapter, it means that when you open a book, maybe there's a chapter 1 that you need to know, maybe it's the first topic, so that's chapter 1. But in the context of AfCFTA rules of origin, chapter means the 2-digit HS code. So you'll find that it gives some terms and their definition in relation to the AfCFTA rules of origin. And you'll find that these definitions are also similar in other preferential rules of origin. And then part 2 is the purpose, objective, and origin conferring criteria. So articles 2 to 16, that's where we will see the origin criteria, and also we'll see the flexibilities that we saw yesterday, but now in relation to the AfCFTA. And then part 3 is on proof of origin. So that's where we get the certificate of origin and registration of exporters. Part 4 is administrative cooperation. So we need to be able to make this work. So we need to have cooperation within the customs administrations and also with other customs administrations in the continent. And then part 5 is on final provisions. And then we have appendices. So we have 4 appendices. We have Appendix 1 is the certificate of origin to act as the proof of origin. And then Appendix 2 is the origin declaration. So origin declaration is also used as a proof of origin, but you'll find that the origin declaration only has the declaration or certification only by the exporter. So you'll find that this document is also a proof of origin, but you'll find that okay. But it's only the exporter who signs the origin declaration. Okay, thank you, Kalafan. So the appendices, so Appendix 1 is the certificate of origin. So the certificate of origin is where we'll have a part where the exporter is going to sign the document, and then the competent authority is also going to certify or to confirm that the goods are actually originating in their country. And then Appendix 2 is the origin declaration. So origin declaration is only signed by the exporter. So you'll find that it's also a proof of origin documentation, but it may not be maybe easily taken as a proof of origin, because you'll find that it's only the exporter who signs that document. But you'll find that also the exporter who signs this origin declaration most likely is a registered exporter. So you'll find that the Customs Administration has their names and what they produces, and also their names and their what they produce is going to be distributed to all the other members. So Appendix 3 is suppliers or producers declaration. So in case the person who is exporting the goods is not the one who produced or manufactured the goods, then they will need a supplier or producer's declaration to be able to get a certificate of origin. And then Appendix 4 is where we have the product specific rules or the origin criteria that is applicable to different goods. Origin criteria in AfCFTA. So Article 4 provides two criteria. A product shall be considered as originating from a state party if it has been wholly obtained in that state party within the meaning of Article 5 of this annex, or undergone substantial transformation in that state party within the meaning of Article 6 of this annex. So you'll find that Article 4 provides for the origin criteria, and that the origin criteria can be either wholly obtained or undergone substantial transformation, because the goods were produced using materials coming from outside the preferential area. Have wholly obtained products, live animals, born and raised. In a given country. So the key thing for animals have to be born and raised for them to be considered wholly obtained. And then we have plant harvested in a given country. Minerals extracted or taken in a single country. A scrap or waste from manufacturing process. And then let me see if I can share Annex 2 so that we see Article 5 and see the exact list relating to the wholly obtained goods. So let me share the Annex 2. So I hope you are able to see Annex 2. So that's an so Annex 2. So you'll find that we have Article 1, which is definition. So We have definition of certificate of origin. So the documentary proof of origin issued by designated competent authority, confirming that a particular product complies with the origin criteria in Appendix 4. And then chapter means the 2-digit chapter code used in the nomenclature which makes up the harmonized system. So you find that we are defining terms in relation to rules of origin. So CIF value includes cost, insurance, and freight. So classified means the classification of the product. Of the product or material under a particular heading or subheading. So you see, country of origin means the state party in which the goods have been produced or manufactured according to the criteria laid out in Annex 2. So customs authority means the administrative authority responsible for administering customs laws in a state party. So designated competent authority means a body or organization designated by a state party to issue certificate of origin. So we need to note that a country or a state party may decide who is going to be their designated competent authority. So it can be customs or any other entity, organization, provided the state party appoints that entity or organization to be the designated competent authority. So ex-works price means the price paid for the product ex-works to the manufacturer in the state party in whose undertaking the last working or processing is carried out. So it includes the value of all the materials used minus any internal taxes paid, which are or may be repaid when the product obtained is exported. So free trade area means the territories of the state parties of the AfCFTA. So material means any ingredient, raw material, component, or part used in the manufacture of a product. So it can be raw material which is unprocessed, or it can be a component that is going to be used in the manufacture of a product. So origin declaration means an appropriate statement as to the origin of the goods made in connection with their exportation by the manufacturer, producer, supplier, or exporter, or any other competent person on the commercial invoice or any other document relating to the goods. So it can either be the commercial invoice or it can be any other document, but you'll find that it's not going to be certified by the designated competent authority. Subheading means the 6-digit code used in the nomenclature which makes up the harmonized system. So that's Article 1, and then we have the objective. So Article 4 is the origin conferring criteria. So wholly obtained in the state party or undergone substantial transformation in the state party within the meaning of Article 6 of this article. So Article 5, wholly obtained product, so mineral product and other non-living natural resources. So that makes up wholly obtained. Plants, including aquatic plant and plant products. Live animals born and raised. So it has to be born and raised. Product obtained from live animals raised therein. So for product from live animals is just raised therein. Product from slaughtered animals has to be born and raised. Product obtained by hunting and fishing conducted therein. Product of aquaculture. product of sea fishing and other products taken from the sea outside the territory of a state party by their vessel. Product made aboard their factory ship exclusively from product referred in paragraph H. Used articles fit only for the recovery of materials, provided that such articles have been collected therein. So I wanted us to note J, the articles mentioned in J. So these are articles that have been made maybe from materials that we can say we were throwing them away. A good example is the football that we saw yesterday that was made from ropes and sacks. That is what we mean when we say used article only fit for a recovery of materials. Or you'll find that the disposable water bottles, after maybe people have drank the water and thrown the bottles, you'll find that there are other people who are trying to recycle, maybe using those bottles to make decorations. So those decorations are also going to be considered wholly obtained, because they have been recovered from the materials they are in. So maybe the water bottles were imported into the country, but since now we are reusing them by making decorations, then those decorations are going to be considered wholly obtained. And then scrap and waste resulting from manufacturing operations. Product extracted from marine soil or subsoil outside the territorial waters, provided that it has the sole right to work that soil or subsoil. Goods produced therein exclusively from the product specified from paragraph A to L, and electric energy produced therein. So our colleagues from Ethiopia, they'll be producing electric energy, so that one is wholly obtained. And if maybe they export to us, then it's going to be considered wholly obtained, so there'll be no duty that is going to be chargeable, and hopefully we'll be able to industrialize and produce the goods within our countries. So the term their vessels and their factory fish. So this is in relation to fish and marine product from high seas. So this is the requirement that so it has to be registered in a state party in accordance with the national laws of a state party, and then meet one of the following conditions. At least 50% of the officers of the vessel or factory ship are nationals of the state party or state parties. So the officers is 50% of either one state party, or it can be officers from different state parties, but they have to be nationals. And then for the crew, we have 40% of the crew of the vessel or factory ship are nationals of the state party or state parties. And then with a temporary 5-year exception for island state parties. So that's for Mauritius, Seychelles, Comoros, Madagascar, when they ratify. So you find that for them, they have a temporary reprieve to 30%, which after 5 years, it will revert back to 40%. And then at least 50% of the equity holding in respect of the vessel or factory ship are held by nationals of the state party or state parties, or institution, agency, enterprise, or corporation of the government of the state party or state parties. So that's in relation to the vessel of a state party, 50% officers, 40% crew, and then 50% ownership of the vessel. So that's what we wanted to see in Article 5 in relation to the wholly obtained goods. Drissa, you're saying, do used goods qualify under the rules of origin? So used goods, you find that which criteria are they going to qualify? So do they meet the origin criteria that is applicable for that product? But you'll find that second-hand clothing are not covered in the tariff concessions. There are no rules concerning second-hand clothing. So you'll find that we are not going to be trading in second-hand clothing or used clothing. So there are no rules. So that one is excluded from the rules of origin. But used goods, depending on what they are, they'll have to meet the origin criteria. So you have to be able to know which used goods are they, the specific one. But used clothing, or what we call in Kenya, we'll say mitumba, those ones are not part of the goods that we expect to trade under the AfCFTA. So we want to be able to trade in new clothes or new textiles or new apparel. Okay, so Joseph, you're saying how long should the raised in born and raised be? So an Ethiopian is buying a 2-month-old calf from Kenya that was born in Somalia and raised for only 1 day in Somalia before being brought to Kenya. So is it originating from Kenya or Somalia? So you'll find that already it was kind of had you can say a continental nationality, because already it was born in Kenya. So already that one has kind of like a blanket nationality, it's originating. And then that was born in Somalia. Okay. An Ethiopian is buying a 2-month-old calf from Kenya that was born in Somalia. So it was born in Somalia and then brought into Kenya and raised for only 1 day in Somalia before being brought to Kenya. So basically, this animal is originating. So where do we place its nationality? So born and raised. So it doesn't say how long it has to be raised, but it has to be born. So it was born in Somalia. So Somalia, but remember we have cumulation and then all the countries are treated as one territory. So you can say that the last place of where it was brought from, that's where the nationality is. So it will be it's going to originate from Kenya. So you find that when there are several maybe processes, if a product has to be processed in several countries, then you'll find that where the last substantial transformation takes place is where it's going to originate. And since we have accumulation and also we treat all the members as one territory, so for the animals, you'll find that it may have other issues and not maybe rules of origin issues in its clearance, because you'll find that you may need to be cleared by the agricultural bodies in the country because you're exporting live animals. You may need an SPS certificate. So it may not be an issue of origin per se, because already that animal qualifies as originating. I hope, Joseph, we're okay. So Guagilo, you're saying in case of
it's okay, Latif.
Okay. In case of the vessel or factory ship, in terms of number of officer, crew, and equity holding, all these conditions are to be met at once in determining origin. So you'll find that it only says it has to be registered and then meet one of the following conditions. So it meets one of the following conditions. So it can either be it's registered and then it meets the number of officers that are required, or it's registered and then it meets the equity holding. So it's one of the three conditions, but it has to be first registered and then it meets one of the three conditions. I hope you're okay, Gwakilo. So it doesn't have to meet all the three, but if it has met, well and good. But one is okay. Okay, thank you. So that's Article 5 in relation to wholly obtained goods. So let me go back to our presentation. So we have seen the wholly obtained product. So the ones that are unique is in relation to fish and marine products from high seas, and then the articles only fit for recovery of materials. So like the football that we saw yesterday, if maybe the electronics have been they no longer work and then the person decides to modify them to maybe as decorations, then those decorations are going to be treated as wholly obtained. And then sufficiently worked or processed product. So this is in relation to those products that are manufactured using materials coming from outside the preferential area or from the state parties. So for this one, use of certain materials of non-African origin, and also we'll find that for the members of the AU who are not yet state parties, also we can group them under this one because they have not yet ratified the agreement. So the first one is change in tariff classification. So change in tariff classification under the AfCFTA rules of origin is represented in change in tariff heading, and there are very few tariff lines represented as change in tariff subheading, but most we have is change in tariff heading. And then we have value added criteria, but for the value added criteria, so far there's no product or any tariff line that has the value added criterion as of yet. So you'll find that there are no kind of clear guidelines on how to determine the origin and the value added criterion, because there's no product or any tariff line that has value added criterion. And then the value of non-originating materials content or material content criterion. So that's another criteria under the AfCFTA. And then we have specific manufacturing process. And you'll find that these product specific rules are set out in Appendix 4. So that's an extract from Appendix 4. So you'll find that it's represented in 3 columns. So the first column is either HS chapter, heading or subheading, and then description of the goods or of the product, and then working or processing carried out on non-originating materials, which confers originating status. So you'll find that the third column gives the working that we need to do to non-originating material. The criteria that is going to be done to non-originating material for the product to be considered originating. So the focus is what we need to do to non-originating material to make it to originate. So I hope you are able to see the extract. So we have HS heading 8480, molding boxes for metal foundry, mold bases, molding patterns, molds for metals, and the rest. And then the working is manufacture in which the value of all of of the material used does not exceed 60% of the ex-works price of the product. And then we have also 84, 81. So we have description of the product, and the specific rule is manufacture in which the value of the materials used does not exceed 60% of the ex-works price of the product. And then 84, 82, still the same criteria. And then we have the next still an extract from the Appendix 4. So we have 2710. So this is a very good example because it has all part of the extract, because it has all the substantial transformation criteria that have already been agreed and it's available. So 2710, so that's the HS heading. Petroleum oils and oils obtained from bituminous minerals, plus the rest of the description. And then the origin criteria is that operations of refining and or one or more specific processes. So in the beginning of Appendix 4, at the top, you'll find that there are some instruction or notes that we need to take in to keep in mind. So you find that it will define which other operations that relate to chapter 27. Or, so we have seen that it doesn't have to meet all the criteria. One criteria is enough. If we have non-originating materials and we have done operations of refining to get petroleum oil, then that petroleum oil is going to be considered originating. Or, so if we have not met refining, it says manufacture from materials of any heading except that of the product. So this is change in tariff heading. So we can use materials from heading 2701 to make petroleum oil, and the petroleum oil is going to be considered originating. So it says you manufacture from materials of any heading except that of the product, or manufacture in which the value of the material used does not exceed 50% of the ex-works price of the product. So this has given us the requirement for non-originating material, it should not exceed 50%. For the earlier extract, we saw it was 60%, but this is for 50%. So this is a very good extract that has encompassed all the substantial or sufficient transformation criteria that are currently applicable. For the value added, it has not been agreed on any tariff line or on any product. So that one, we cannot say this is how it's going to be calculated. So for now, the value added criterion is not, it's applicable on paper, but it's not actually being applied because there's no tariff line that has value added as a criterion. So I've seen some comments. Let me see if there are questions. So Adela is saying, I would like to know if there's a specific governing body responsible for handling dispute or violation of the agreement of AfCFTA, or it is only AfCFTA Secretariat. Does the body member, the panelist appellate body or secretariat draw from all member countries, ensuring broad representation? So you'll find that there's supposed to be a body responsible. Remember, one of the earlier protocols that were negotiated and agreed upon is Protocol on Trade in Goods, Protocol on Trade in Services, and Protocol on Rules and Rules and Procedures on Settlement of Dispute. So already there's provisions relating to settlement of dispute, and you'll find that some of these disputes may not, depending on how it's going to maybe function or to be operationalized, you'll find that some of these appellate body or this body relating to disputes resolution, we find that the dispute will have maybe to be brought in by members. So I find that some of these dispute settlement bodies will find that they will handle cases that are brought in by member country or the state parties. So they will, in case there's a dispute, maybe a trader feel aggrieved, maybe they had exported their goods to Zimbabwe from Uganda, and maybe some issue arose, you'll find that if a dispute has arisen, it's not that trader who is going to take that dispute to the dispute resolution body. We'll find that it's their country who is going to represent them. So that's how dispute resolution bodies are designed, that they will accept dispute brought in by members. So the members which are the state parties, like for the WTO, if there's a dispute, you'll find that it's the country that is going to, the member or the country that is going to take the dispute to the WTO, and not the individual trader who was aggrieved by that situation. But the good thing or the uniqueness is that for COMESA, you'll find that even an individual or a trader can take the dispute to the to COMESA dispute court. So you'll find that it's how maybe they're going to see operationalize that will determine whether it's a trader who can be able to take the dispute to the court, or it will have to be their country who is going to represent that dispute for resolution. So that's what I can say, Adela. So there's provisions in relation to dispute resolution.
Thank you.
Okay. So Cynthia is saying, why doesn't the AfCFTA consider change in chapter? It only consider change in tariff heading and change in tariff subheading. So you find that even in most preferential rules of origin, change in chapter heading, change in tariff chapter is very rare. So mostly you find that it's changed in tariff heading. That's why when we reference manufacture from any materials of any other classification, you will find that it will be heading and once in a while subheading, but it's rarely in chapter. Maybe you'll find that for chapter, it means if the item is chapter 1 and then the non-originating is chapter 1, and then we just do maybe a minor process and we get item in chapter 2, then that qualifies as originating. Maybe they see that for chapter, it may not have maybe a lot of process to be done for the product to qualify. But also it's the members who agree on what they want. So it doesn't matter whether it's available or not. It's the members who have agreed that we want to have change in tariff chapter or we don't want change in tariff chapter. But most likely, most people or most preferential rules of origin will pick change in tariff heading as their origin criteria other than change in tariff chapter. So it's the members who decide which criteria they want to use. Because you'll find that like for this extract, 2710, the non-originating material does not exceed 50%, and then the previous one does not exceed 60%. So they may also have other reasoning, maybe in relation to availability of the non-originating material, the importance of the product itself. Do we need this product in our countries so that we make the rule flexible or less strict so that we can be able to comply? So I hope Cynthia we're okay. Any question or any comments? So material content criteria. So which is also referred as value of non-originating materials. So the goods should be produced in a state party, wholly or partially from imported materials or materials of unknown origin, and the value of non-originating materials account for the minimum percentage of the ex-works price of the finished product stipulated in the list of conditions, working or processes in Appendix 4 of Annex 2. So you'll find that the product specific rule will specify the percentage that is applicable. So for heading 2710, we have seen in which the value of material used does not exceed 50% of the ex-works price. And then for 8480, it says in which the value of material used does not exceed 60% of the ex-works price of the product. So we find that you need to be able to reference Appendix 4 to see which is the applicable percentage for non-originating material or material content criteria. So this what we had seen yesterday. So formula for calculation of material content. So FOB value of imported materials times 100 over X works price, and this should be less than or equals to specified percentage in Appendix 4. So if the item we are looking at is 2710, then we'll put the percentage as 50. If it's 84, then we'll put the 60. So X works price is given by X works cost plus profit. Sorry. And then X works cost is given by local materials plus imported materials plus direct expenses. So Cynthia is saying, I come again on the percentage to use. So the percentage we are going to use will depend with the product that we are determining the origin. So for the ones that we have shared on the extract, if the product that we are, sorry, sorry. So if the product we want to determine the origin is 2710, we will go to Appendix 4, look for 2710, and then we will see the product specific rule, and 2710 has material content, and the percentage for 2710 items is 50%. The previous extract is 8480, and the percentage is 60%. So you will need to go to the Appendix 4, and then you look at the item that you want to determine the origin, and you'll find that which origin criteria are there. If it's material content, it will have it will specify which percentage is going to be applicable. Randhi, you're saying to calculate the percentage material content, we always take the FOB value of the imported input or the CIF value. Please clarify. So for the AfCFTA, we take the FOB value, but it may vary from one regional economic community to another. like for the East African community, we use CIF value. But for the AfCFTA, we use FOB so that we can create a level playing field when determining origin. Because you'll find that when we use CIF value for the countries on the east side of the continent, Mauritius included, Kenya included, Tanzania, Seychelles, you will find that maybe the freight, if we're getting the non-originating materials from China, the freight will be lower compared if the same raw materials from China are going to be transported to Nigeria. It means that the freight from China to Nigeria will be higher. So it means that when we are doing our calculation, the value of imported materials will be high, and maybe the goods will not qualify as originating. So to create that kind of level playing field for the traders, for the manufacturers, so that the goods can qualify as originating, we use the FOB value. So I hope you're okay, Ranvir. So for AfCFTA, we use FOB, but for the others, depending on the rules themselves, remember the members agree, there may be provisions to use CIF value or to use FOB. But for AfCFTA, we are using FOB value. So we have an example. So a producer in Uganda makes wooden chairs for sale to a buyer in Namibia. The producer uses both local timber and timber imported from DRC and Malaysia, respectively. So the producer incurs the following cost per chair, but is not sure whether the chairs qualify for preferential tariff treatment or not. And an extract from Appendix 4 in relation to the chairs is manufacture in which the value all the material used does not exceed 60% of the ex-works price of the product. So those are the values that we have in relation to the production of the chairs from Uganda that are going to be exported to Namibia. So we have local timber at 200, timber from DRC at 100, timber from Malaysia at 800, glue from Brazil 55, varnish from Germany 58, and then we have factory overheads. So we have factory rent and rates, depreciation of machinery, direct labor, office rent, import duties, and then the profit. So we want to help our friend from Uganda to see if the chairs are going to be given preferential treatment when they're exported to Namibia.
Ya watu watano.
So I want to use the whiteboard, but if I use the whiteboard, I'll need to stop the presentation. Or we can just follow solution in the next slide. So our formula for material content is FOB value of imported materials over the ex-works price times 100, and we have been given the percentage as 60%. So we need first to determine the ex works price. And these are the values we have. So we look at which items are going to be originating. So we have interruptions. So we're going to determine which are the originating materials, which are non-originating material, and then the direct expenses. So we have our local timber. So this one is originating. So that's timber from Uganda. Are there any member who can assist me to know which one will fall as either originating or non-originating? Any members to assist? So Stefano is saying DLC is originating. So DLC is originating. So this is our originating. So local timber, timber from Uganda, that's 200. We have timber from DLC. So Alzira, thank you. So you're saying Vanish from Germany, non-originating. So let me use another color to point non-originating in color. So we have Vanish from Germany, that's a non-originating. Thank you, Alzira. And then we have Ranveer, local timber. Timber is originating. So thank you, Ranveer. So local timber is originating. Muchetere, timber, glue, and varnish are non-originating. So that will be timber from Malaysia, glue from Brazil, and varnish from Germany. So the three are non-originating. I hope you are able to pick that. So Sambeni, Malaysia, and Brazil are non-originating. So those ones we have also noted. Thank you, Sambeni. Mkadu, glue from Brazil, non-originating. Edwin, glue from Brazil, non-originating, and also glue from Brazil is non-originating, Adela. So thank you so much. So we have already identified which materials are originating and which ones are not originating. And then we move on to factory overheads. So for factory overheads, you'll find that we take direct expenses in our calculation. So use another thing. So you'll find that direct expenses, we will take those expenses that directly affect the production process. So one good example of a direct expense is electricity. If we are running machinery in our factory or in our manufacturing, you'll find that that machinery may require electricity. So electricity is a direct expense. You remove electricity, it means our machines will not be running. So it means that we are not going to be able to produce the goods. So basically, a checklist to determine whether an expense is a direct expense or not. You'll find that if you don't pay for that expense, are you able to produce the goods? So if you are not able to produce the goods, that's a direct expense. So Juliana, direct labor. So direct labor, so this will be payment to people who are working in the factory. So we don't pay for direct labor. It means we will not be able to produce the goods. So that's a direct expense. So Sambeni, thank you. So labor is a direct expense. Any overhead that is a direct expense? Nkadu saying factory rent and rates is a direct expense. So factory rent and rent. If you don't pay the rent for the factory, you find that maybe it's not your building, you have rented, the landlord will lock the factory. So you will not be able to produce the goods. So that's a good way of determining whether it's a direct expense or not. So Adela, rent. I hope Adela, because we have two rents, we have factory rent and then the office rent. So, Tere, you're saying import duties. Remember, the import duty will be maybe for the 3 items that were imported from outside Uganda. So it means we take FOB value. So our import duty, this one is going to be not included in our calculation. So for purposes of rules of origin, if it's not a direct expense, we are not going to include in our calculation. So import duties is not included in the calculation. So import duty, we are not going to include. So let me just rub it off. So we have Temwani Alzira, so depreciation of machinery. Okay, Juliana, you had said factory rent, so that one is included. Office rent, we will not consider it as a direct expense. Remember, we are producing the goods in the factory. So the office rent, in the long run, when we are looking at maybe the manufacturer, when they are looking at doing their accounting books, they will consider the office rent. But for purposes of determining rules of origin, you'll find that office rent is going to be left out, so it will not be included. So office rent is not a direct expense, so we'll not include it. So I think Adela, just note that that's not a direct expense, so we don't include in our calculation. But the factory rent, we include, because if you don't pay for the rent, for the factory rent, you will not be able to do the production. Sarah, you are saying direct labor. So direct labor is a direct expense. Depreciation of machinery. So from Temwani Alzira. Sambeni is saying profit is not a direct expense. So profit is not a direct expense. But remember, when we are calculating the ex-works price, we'll need to use the profit. So profit will come later in our calculation, but it's not a direct expense, but it's needed because we want to determine the ex-works price. So depreciation of machinery. So depreciation of machinery is also a direct expense. So we have determined. Thank you everyone for your contribution. Okay, thank you, Sambeni. So profit is not a direct expense. So we have seen which are the originating materials. So the local timber and the timber from DRC. So that will be so we have local timber and timber from DRC. So those are originating. And then you have timber from Malaysia, glue, and from Brazil and varnish. Those are non-originating materials. And then we have the direct expenses, factory rent, depreciation of machinery, and direct labor. So those are direct expenses. And then in our calculation, we will need the profit. So first, we determine so our formula is that non-originating material over X works price times 100 should be less than or equals to 60%. That's the extract that we are given in relation to the chairs. So it should not exceed 60% of the X works price. So Namasiku, you are seeking clarification on depreciation of machinery as a direct expense. So you'll find that depreciation is presumed the part of the machine that we are using now. We can give a good example of maybe if you buy a new phone today and maybe you have bought it at 1,000 US dollars. So today is very new. You have bought it at 1,000 US dollars. And then maybe after 1 month, you want to sell it, you will find that you are not going to sell it at 1,000 because no one is also going to buy it from you at 1,000. Maybe you can sell it at 800. So you have used it for 1 month and now you're selling it at 800 US dollars. So the difference between the 1,000 and the 800, which is 200, is what we call depreciation. It's presumed that for the 1 month, you have used 200 of the value of the phone. So that's what we refer as depreciation. Because we cannot say that for the depreciation of machinery, we are going to allocate the whole value of the machinery to determining the origin for the goods, for these goods that we are determining now, because maybe that machinery can be used for 5 years. So we cannot take, maybe it was bought at 2,000 US dollars and we cannot add that value. So you apportion a certain amount to say that if I'm making this product, then this is going to be the amount that I'm going to allocate in relation to the machinery. So that's how depreciation works. Okay, Juliana, also you wanted to ask the same question. So depreciation is the part we assume is the part of the value of the machine that we are using now. So when you buy that phone for 1,000 and now you are selling it at 800, it means the 200 was the amount you have used of the phone. So the 200 is what we call depreciation. And you'll find that with the accounting principles that are applicable in different countries, they will assign depreciation for different machineries and also different rates. And so they'll have formulas on how to assign depreciation. But basically, depreciation is the amount that we say we have used in relation to making this product. So I hope Jane and Juliana, we are okay on depreciation. Okay, thank you, Jen. You can see an emoji, thumbs up. So, but in case it's not still clear, you can just ask for clarification. So we had seen our non-originating materials. So non-originating was 800, the glue 55, and then the varnish 58. So that gives us 913. So those are the non-originating materials. And then our ex-works price is given by ex-works cost plus profit. So ex-works cost is originating materials. So we had seen our originating materials were the local timber 200 and the timber from DRC 100. So that's 100 plus 200. So this is this was the originating material, and then the non-originating material. The non-originating material, and then our direct expenses. So our direct expenses were 300 factory rent, and then we had depreciation of machinery 80, and the direct labor was 300. So 300 direct labor, 100 factory rent, and then 80 depreciation. And then since ex-works price is ex-works cost plus profit, and then we now use the profit. So the profit is not a direct expense, but is needed in calculating the ex-works price. So plus 120, which will give us 1,813. So material content is given by non-originating material. So non-originating material is here. So which is 913 over ex-works price. So our ex-works price is supposed to be here, which is 1813 times 100. It gives us 50.35%. When we round off, it's 50%. So the requirement is that it should not exceed 60%. So it should not exceed 60%, and we have 50%. So our chairs from Uganda are going to be considered originating. So they have met the origin criteria and will qualify for preferential treatment when exported to Namibia. So that's how we do the calculation. Cynthia, you are asking about calculation. So this is how we do the calculation. So you'll find that the importer will provide the exporter will provide this information. So you'll find that they need to have proper recording so that we can be able to know that actually these goods meet the required percentage so that they can be considered originating. So the importer will provide the information, and some of this information as customs official we can be able to confirm, especially in relating to the non-originating material. Remember when they're imported, they will make a declaration, so they will declare the non-originating materials, so you can be able to confirm from the custom system that these are the values of the non-originating materials. And then for the direct expense, they will provide that from their accounting records that these are the expense we incur, and you'll find that they might also have like a breakdown for the expenses even relating to one item. You'll find that maybe they pay electricity monthly, but now maybe they are producing 1,000 goods. So they'll tell you this is the amount we have paid as electricity for the month, and we have produced 1,000 items. So one item has consumed this amount of electricity. So they have the breakdown in relation to their accounting records. So I think that's how we calculate material content, and then later we have the exercises that we are going to do in breakout rooms, so in groups, so that we can see how to do the calculations. So any question in calculating the material content criterion? I can get some reaction. We're okay. Either do something on the chat, write one, or you can just give a thumbs up to show that we are okay. Thank you, Nkadu. Sandra, thank you. Thank you, Alzira, Naomi, Stefano, Randir. So thank you. Maybe we can say we have gained or we deserve a break, so we can take a break. And then when we come back, we finish some few issues, and then I'll also do another example, and then I'll create the breakout room so that you can be working on the example in groups. So we take a 15 minutes break. Kalfani was saying determining direct expenses is a bit confusing. So basically, you can say either you can do that kind of checklist. If this manufacturer does not pay for this expense, are they going to be able to produce the goods? Or if they don't pay, they will not be able to produce the goods. So that's kind of a basic checklist that you can do, but you'll find that the manufacturer will provide that all the information, because they're supposed to have knowledge of rules of origin, and already they know their manufacturing process, so they will tell you that these are the expenses we incur, and these are the ones that are directly relating to manufacturing of the goods. So you don't have to worry that I have to know each and everything. You will find that the manufacturer is able to provide the information that these are the direct expenses and these are not the direct expenses. So if there's no other question, so we take 15 minutes. So we can come back 30 minutes past the hour. Okay. Brenda is saying you have used the material content of a total material. So yesterday we were doing like a general overview on the way material content can be calculated, but you find that for AfCFTA, material content is calculated non-originating material over X wax price. For the total non-originating materials over total material, this is applicable for COMESA. So you find that if your country is a member of COMESA and they're exporting under COMESA, then determining the material content criteria, they will use this formula, non-originating material over total materials, but that is for COMESA. So this is for AfCFTA, but for COMESA, you'll find that they will use non-originating material over total material. So, and also if you are using for COMESA, you'll find that it will not qualify because for COMESA, it should be less than or equals to 60%. So if it's 75%, it will not qualify for origin. So there'll be most favored nation treatment. So Brenda, so that's applicable for COMESA, but it's good that you attempted because at least you have seen the formula. So for COMESA, they use that formula, and for them, the percentage is fixed. It's not, you have to look at their Appendix 4 to see if the percentage is different for different products. So any other clarification or issues on the calculation? So we can take a break and come back 30 past. So 11:30, we have 10:30, we have 12:30. So see you in the next few minutes. So enjoy the break, 15 minutes, and then we come back. I hope everyone is back from the break. You can let me know you're back so that we can continue. Okay, thank you. I can see we are back. So let me share the presentation. Okay, thank you, Carlos. Okay, thank you, Gloria. So at least we are back. So we stopped at doing the determination of material content, and we saw one example. So any point where it's not clear? Okay, thank you, Lenny, that you're back. So any point that is not clear, so that's how we do the material content criterion determination. So the information will be provided from the manufacturer will provide. So you'll find that sometimes you'll find that they may also do all the work just for you to confirm. So, but it's also good to know how it's done, just in case maybe sometimes you find that maybe someone wants to take advantage and they start playing around. And then for the non-originating materials, you can be able to confirm maybe from the customs system the values that were declared initially when they were imported. And then we have change in tariff heading. Okay. So Faraji is saying, how are these cost information provided by manufacturers and exporters confirmed? So you find that they have accounting records. So for all maybe payments, the expenses, so the accounting records will provide the information, and then we can also confirm from the customs system in relation to the non-originating materials that were imported into the country. So I hope, Faraji, you are okay? Okay, welcome. So change of in tariff heading, CTH. So the goods have been produced in a partner state, wholly or partially from imported materials, and are classified or become classifiable under a tariff heading other than the tariff heading of the material that are being imported from outside the preferential area. So you'll find that the change in tariff heading is represented the same way. So manufacture from materials of any heading except that of the product. So we had seen the extract earlier where we one of the item had manufacture from materials of any heading except of the product, which means it's just basically change in tariff heading. Cynthia, you're asking what period should we be looking at when considering the direct cost? So the direct cost we are considering per the items that we are calculating. So if we have the cost per one item, so you find that they will have to provide information splitting maybe the electricity bill per item. So maybe they can say that in 1 month we produce 1,000 items. So it may be easier to work with our 1,000 items so that we will take electricity costs for 1,000 items, labor costs for 1,000 items, factory rent for 1,000 items. So we consider per item and not per period. But the period might help us to know the amount or the numbers of items were produced. So if we are taking the cost, if it's for one item, so all the cost we will take is for one item. But it may not be easy maybe to split some of the cost per item. So we may take maybe for 1,000 items. So we'll take maybe electricity for 1,000 items, factory rent for 1,000 items, because they will have all the costing with maybe the accounting office or the accounting records. So they can also do over a period, but they will be referencing in relation to items. So if they're taking for, maybe they're producing for 3 months, and then the number of items is 500. So the rent for the 3 months is going to be attached to 500 items. So the other cost will also be attaching them to 500 items. But most of the information the manufacturers will be able to provide. And then specific manufacturing or processing operations, so technical requirement. So a product is considered substantially transformed when the good has undergone specified manufacturing or processing operations. So remember the extract for heading 2710, it had operations of refining or one or more. So you'll find that it will be specify which processes are considered sufficient process, and also you'll find that they will define for which items. So you'll find that the processes themselves are specific, and then they are specific to certain items. So refining for heading 2710. So the process is specific, and then also the product is specific. You may find that you can do some refining in some other product, but that product will not be considered as originating. So the process is specific, and also it applies to a specific product. And then we have tolerance rule. So tolerance rule, or the de minimis rule, is supported by Article 6A. So in Annex 2, we find that there's Article 6A. So tolerance is authorization to use a small quantity of prohibited materials in production of goods. So remember, we had said that tolerance makes us, or it's a flexibility that allow us to use non-originating materials where we are not supposed to use non-originating materials, like for the case of change in tariff heading. So you'll find that it gives an allowance of 15% of the ex-works price of the final product. So it's not applicable if the processing criterion is value added or value of non-originating materials. So tolerance we apply in relation to change in tariff heading mostly. We don't say that if the material content is 60%, now we add 15% and it becomes 75%. Material content, their percentages are specific. If it's 50%, it's 50%. If you exceed, it means it does not qualify for that material content criteria, but maybe if it has several origin criteria, then you can look if the other criteria, they'll be able to qualify. So if it's 50% non-originating material, it's 50%. If it's 60, it's 60. We are not going to add that 15% tolerance. And then remember, whatever flexibility is the member who agree that we want this flexibility or we don't want it. So you'll find that tolerance is not applicable for HS Chapter 50 to 63. So in AfCFTA Rules of Origin, there's no tolerance for product or for tariff lines that are covered between HS 50 to HS 63. So the members have agreed. So remember, textiles and apparel is where we have a lot of issues, or where the rules are yet to be completed. So you'll find that they have put that disclaimer that tolerance is not going to be applicable to this chapter from 52 to 63. So that's Article 6A in Annex 2. So we have an example for tolerance. So we have finished product to be exported to other state parties, so grape wine. So most likely we are talking about South Africa with their grape vines and also good grape wines. So HS heading 2204. So the raw materials that are used in production, we have grape mousse from Portugal, HS heading 2204. Grape mousse from South Africa, 2204. So the same HS heading, $70 US. Other materials, so maybe the other materials, maybe some preservative, maybe some addition ingredients that are used in making the grape wine. And then we have direct expenses as $100. So Sandra is asking, why is Chapter 50 to 63 restricted in most trade agreements? So there, that's where we have textiles and apparels. So maybe people have, you can say, a stake in relation to items that are in those chapters. So either they are sensitive, you find that there are countries that depend on either making textiles or making apparels, so dresses, shirts, trousers. So maybe they consider it, they restrict, because maybe if they open up, it means that they may not be able to sustain themselves in those industries. So kind of they become very strict in how they liberalize 50 to 63. But still it's the member. So it doesn't mean that it's only one country that kind of was against having the 50 to 63 to be liberalized or to have tolerance. It means the other members have agreed. That's why it's now in their legal text. So you find that the members will agree and it will become now applicable, and it will be in their legal document or their legal text. So you find that our grape wine, so the origin rule for grape wine, which is 2204, is manufactured from materials of any heading except that of the product. So it means that we have change in tariff heading, and in which any grapes and other materials derived from grapes used must be wholly obtained. So since we had to use materials of the same heading, so the one from Portugal, it means on face value our grape wine is not originating. But since people don't want to miss on good things, so we go to tolerance and see whether we are going to be able to give this grape wine origin status or originating status. So our tolerance rule is almost the same as the one for material content criteria, but now the applicable percentage is 15%. Remember, we are just trying to give a flexibility so that we are able to produce these good things. So you'll find that the percentage applicable, it should be less than 15%. So our originating material is the grape must from South Africa. And then we have non-originating that has the same HS heading. So when we are looking at tolerance, we take the non-originating material that has the same HS heading. We don't take all the other non-originating materials. I hope you are okay. So we take the one that is that has the same HS heading, or if it's maybe other rules of origin, you might find that we take the non-originating material that has the same HS classification. So for our case, we take the material, the non-originating material that has the same HS heading. So our grape must from Portugal is the one that has the same HS heading, which is 2204. So in our calculation, in relation to tolerance, we will be using the non-originating material as the grape must from Portugal, which has the same HS headings, because we are told that the other materials that are non-originating are from other HS headings. So it means that manufacture from materials of any other heading other than the product. So these ones are okay, but this one is not okay. But we are going to rely on tolerance to help us to see whether it's going to be originating. So our non-originating material of the same HS is 10, and then our X wax price. So these are the only details we have. We have the originating material, that's the most from South Africa, 70. We have the other materials is 10, and then we have direct expenses plus the grape mousse from Portugal to get the X-Wax price, though we don't have profit and any other cost, so we'll work with what we have. So this will give us, so tolerance is the non-originating material that has the same HS code. So we still take the FOB value and then X-Wax price times 100, and it should be less than or equals to 15%. So our non-originating material from Portugal, because that's the one that has the same HS, is 10. And then our X-Wax price, we had 70. That's grape mousse from South Africa. We had 20 we had 10 from Germany, and then the 10 from Portugal. So that's 20. And then we have the direct expenses, which is 100. So the X-Wax price is 190. So non-originating material, same HS code, is 10 over X-Wax price is 190 times 100. So this gives us 5.626%. So we round it off to 5%. So the tolerance is that it should not exceed 15%. So what we have is 5%. So our grape wine is going to be considered originating because of tolerance rule. So that's how we calculate tolerance. So Randir, in practice, we do need the factory profit to determine the X-Wax price. Yes. So in practice, we need the profit. But for our exercises, the information we have, we don't have price profit, so we'll just work with what we have. But in practice, you will find that the manufacturer will provide profit. They cannot be in business without getting profit, unless they are trying to do money laundering. But if they are actually doing clean business, they'll be able to have provisions of making a profit. So thank you, Ranvi. So any question in determining origin in relation to tolerance rule? Okay. So the previous. So manufacture from materials of any heading except of the product. Okay, thank you. So any question in how to calculate the tolerance rule? So it's similar to what we did in material content criteria, but now tolerance is 15%. It doesn't change unless it's being specified in the in Appendix 4 if the percentage of tolerance rule. But you'll find that we work with 15%, and then we take the value of the non-originating FOB. So for AfCFTA, we are working with FOB of the same HS heading. So we only take the one that has the same HS heading because that is the one that is trying to make us to make use of this flexibility. And then we have insufficient working or processing. So you'll find that there are processes that are considered insufficient. When done to non-originating material, it will not confer origin. So that's Article 7. And so you'll find that these simple operations are not considered significant or substantial enough to confer origin to a final product. So we have preservation, packaging, assembling, cutting, painting, ironing, simple mixing. So an operation is considered simple when no special skill, so it doesn't require special skill, or specialized machines or apparatus or tools manufactured or installed for these operations and that are necessary for their operation, or when these skills, machines, apparatus, or tools do not contribute to the essential characteristics or properties of the product. So when we say these are simple operations, it means they don't require specialized skills or specialized machineries. But you'll find that sometimes people want to make their work easier, they will still have machinery for these simple processes. Even if a machine is used, you'll find that it does not contribute to the essential characteristic of the product. So maybe we are talking about packaging. So we can do it manually without machine. But if someone wants to maybe package more products, he decides to bring in a machine that will do the packaging. So we are using a machine, but we'll find that it does not contribute to the essential characteristic or property of the product. So you find that the product, if it's an imported shirt, it will still remain imported shirt. It will not change. So whether you're using machines to justify that this is not an insufficient process, it will still be an insufficient process because it has not contributed to the essential characteristic of the product. So processes not conferring origin, simple packaging, simple mixing, changes of packing and breaking up of consignment, slaughter of animals, and then any other minor operations. And then we have Article 8 is on cumulation. So all state parties shall be considered as one territory. So materials from any originating material from any of the state party are going to be considered from one territory. So you can get materials from Egypt, you can get materials from Morocco, you can get material from Ghana, you can get material from Namibia, you can get materials from Angola, South Africa, bring them to one of the countries, process, and that product is going to be considered originating because of cumulation. Also, it allows cumulation of production processes in the zone. So you'll find that you may be accumulating materials or you can accumulate on the production process. Maybe you want to to package tea leaves to become tea bags, but maybe in Kenya or in Uganda, we don't have, we are able just to dry the tea leaves, but we are not able to process. So we take our dried tea leaves, maybe to South Africa. Now they blend, and then maybe they package in the tea bags papers, and now they are ready to be exported. So you find that that is accumulation of production process. It's still the tea leaves, nothing has been added in South Africa, but now they have been made into tea bags. Or we accumulate, so our tea leaves, dried tea leaves, we send to Seychelles. They are mixed with vanilla. Now we are accumulating materials, and then from Seychelles, they are taken to Egypt to be packed in the papers that will make them to be tea bags. So we have accumulated materials, and also we have accumulated processes. So both of them are allowed. And then we have absorption principle. So that's Article 8A. So the value of non-originating material used by the producer in the production of a product shall not include for purposes of calculating the value of the product, the value of non-originating material used to produce originating materials that are subsequently used in the production of the product. So remember yesterday's example where we had a product that acquired origin. Remember our yogurt that initially had milk from Uganda and yogurt from Netherlands, but because of tolerance, it was able to acquire origin. So when we use that yogurt to make the ice cream, we will take it as originating yogurt. We are not going to say it initially had yogurt from Netherlands. So that's basically what absorption principle means. When a product acquires origin because of any of the criteria that are applicable to it, then you'll find that we are going to treat it as originating. We are not going to split it and say initially it had some non-originating materials. Cynthia is saying, should accumulation between state party be based only on countries having a trade agreement and the bilateral and diagonal, or what does it mean same trade level? So for accumulation, you can accumulate with any state party. So it's not restricted that it should be bilateral or it should be diagonal. So you can accumulate. Remember, we say all the state parties are considered one territory. So it's only that when you get these materials that you want to accumulate with, then be sure to have a certificate of origin to show that you are accumulating with materials from another state party. So for them, it's not clear, but we find that the only thing we can say, there's no extended accumulation in AfCFTA. So you can accumulate bilaterally. You get materials from another state party. They are brought into your country. They are processed, and then the goods can be sold to the same state party where the raw materials came from. So it doesn't it does not restrict which type of accumulation we can do, but we can do any accumulation, but we don't have extended accumulation. So it can be bilateral, diagonal, or it can be full accumulation. So you get material from North of Africa, West of Africa, South of Africa, East of Africa, and then maybe bring to a country in Central Africa and produce the goods. So there's no restriction on which type of cumulation you can use, but we don't have extended cumulation. So we have seen absorption principle. So other important areas that we need to keep in mind. So we have goods produced under special economic zones. We mentioned yesterday that provided those goods produced in those special economic arrangement or zones are meeting the origin criteria, they're going to be qualifying for preferential treatment. And then unit of qualification means that each item has to be treated individually. So if you have several items in a consignment, so you look at, is each item qualifying as originating? So if one is not originating, we are not going to use a blanket certificate of origin to show all the items are originating. And then treatment of packing. So the same way we say yesterday that the packaging, the retail packaging is considered the same way it's considered in HS classification. So if it's a plastic bottle for water that maybe after use of the water you can throw it away, that's a retail packaging. Is classified together with the water. So in rules of origin, we look at, is the water originating? If yes, then we are not concerned with the retail packaging. And then separation of materials and accounting segregation. So this is also good to note. You'll find that sometimes manufacturers, maybe they have a store or a warehouse where they keep their materials. So you'll find that sometimes they may not have a big warehouse where maybe they can separate their materials. So when they bring in materials, whether those materials, they're accumulating the materials or they are bringing the materials from outside the state parties, they just keep in the warehouse. There is no clear kind of segregation. So when they bring materials, maybe if they are producing tables and chairs, so they bring in timber from DRC, they just put in the store. They bring in timber maybe from China, they just put in the same store. So physically, maybe there's no segregation. So when maybe the people who are taking the timber or the wood for production of the tables, they just pick any from the store or from the warehouse. So physically, you can say there's no segregation. So remember, the timber from DRC, when the tables are produced, they will qualify as originating. Well, the timber from China, when the tables are produced, it means we'll have to determine the origin of that table. So you'll find that if physically it's not possible to separate these materials, then you'll find that we are going to rely on the accounting records, because you'll find that in their accounting records, the manufacturer will be saying that we imported 5 tons of timber from DRC, and these 5 tons can make 10 tables. Well, maybe the 5 tons from China can make 20 tables. So we know that 10 tables will be automatically originating because they have used timber from DRC, and then the 5 tables will need to determine origin because the timber that was used was from China. So that's what it means, the separation of materials in relation if it's not possible to physically separate materials, maybe because we don't have enough space for storing the raw materials. And then accessory, spare part and tools. So remember yesterday, there are those accessory or spare parts that comes with the product. So those ones are going to be treated as the product. If the product is originating, then the spare parts are originating, provided they are they are the known spare part for that product. So the case of the motor vehicle, we expect that it will have the 4 wheels and then 1 extra tire. But if it has the 4 wheels and then maybe 10 tires, then the other 9 tires, we're going to treat them separately. And then set, so we also saw a set yesterday, Article 14. So the set, all items have to originate, but in case we have one item that is not originating, then we are going to rely on tolerance, and we have seen how tolerance works. And then neutral element, so it doesn't matter who is the owner of that factory or the owner of that production process, who are working in that factory, the machines that we are using, the electricity that we are using. So it doesn't matter their origin. Our main concern is the product that is being produced. Does it meet the required origin criteria? So those are other important area in relation to part 2 of the of Annex 2. So you can see there are some comments. Let me check them. So Stefano is saying, if a product is manufactured using cumulated materials from state parties and materials from outside the continent, what approach can be used to determine the origin of the final product? So remember, the cumulated materials are considered originating materials, and then the ones that are going to be coming from outside the continent, those are going to be considered non-originating material. So if the applicable product-specific rule is material content criteria, then we'll use the same formula. We'll need to know the ex-works price and then the materials that are coming from outside Africa. The one from state parties, those ones are considered originating. So that's why it is important when we have cumulated materials, they need to be supported by a certificate of origin from the state party where they came from to show that they were originating in the other state party and were accumulating with other materials from outside to get the product. So I hope that's okay, Stefano. Faraji, you're saying, I'd like a letter to see sample of certificate of origin showing how accumulation, tolerance, or absorption principles are indicated in the certificate of origin. So for accumulation, it's just, you find that if we are getting materials from Tanzania to Rwanda, so those materials from Tanzania to Rwanda will be accompanied by a certificate of origin. So we'll just get a certificate of origin to show that there were materials from Tanzania. So when maybe we go for verification to the manufacturer, you'll find that they'll provide that these are the material we used and some of the materials came from Tanzania. So that means the accumulation aspect will be seen when we are determining the origin. So it's not like the certificate will be different from the normal certificate. It will just be saying that the manufacturer will present the certificate maybe when we are doing the verification in determining the origin of the goods. And also for tolerance, so still it's in the part of verification. So the certificate will still read that it's originating. And then for absorption, so the product has acquired origin. So if we export to another country, it will also be supported by by the certificate of origin. So all this flexibility, you will be able to see them when you go for the verification to confirm whether the goods are originating or not originating. I hope that's helpful, Faraji. And then Cynthia is saying, what happens when the spare part or accessory have come in one consignment but are on different receipts? How do we treat them at the border? So you find that the spare parts, you will find that they will not be even be mentioned in the invoice. You'll find that if you have bought a motor vehicle and it has the 4 tires plus 1 tire, you will find that it's just say your motor vehicle, the make, the model, and maybe the other details relating to the motor vehicle. It will not say Toyota Land Cruiser plus 1 tire. It will be just Toyota Land Cruiser, and it comes with an extra or 1 spare tire. But when they are separated from that motor vehicle, then it means that maybe you'll find that like for a case of motor vehicle, the spare tire always is kind of like of a lower quality kind of tire compared maybe to the other tires. You'll find that it's a lower brand compared to the other tires. So that's what we expect, or what usually I have seen, whereby the spare tire is not the same quality as the other 4 wheels. But if this importer produces another receipt for the spare tire, you'll find that that spare tire is not the same quality as the spare tires that are usually coming with the motor vehicles. So it means that one is going to be treated separately. So you'll find that when we have the spare tires, the accessories, the spare parts, you'll find that they will not be mentioned separately. We'll just mention motor vehicle, and we expect that it will have the 4 wheels plus 1 as spare tire. So I think, Cynthia, we are clear on that. So Sophia is saying you are wondering about importers of motorcycles in completely knocked down, and then we assemble them in our countries. So when we are looking at motorcycle, what are the requirements? So remember, assembly is a minor process. So you assemble, maybe the motorcycle was in CKD because maybe they wanted to transport many of motorcycles. So if they're in CKD, they can transport many motorcycle at once. So you find that there's no difference between a CKD motorcycle and the full assembled motorcycle. So we look at Appendix 4, what is the origin criteria? But we are doing assembly. Assembly is a insufficient process, so it will not qualify as originating. But we'll find that it's the member who agree. If they see there's need for us to have motorcycle in our countries, and they can agree that we can allow assembling of motorcycle to be also considered as originating. Like for the case in East African community, you'll find that assembling of motor vehicles is considered originating. So they're not considered an insufficient process. So if you bring in part of motor vehicle and then you assemble, that motor vehicle is going to be considered originating. So that's for EAC, and that's what the members have agreed. So all in all, it's the members who agree on what they want and what they feel is going to work for them or not work for them. So any other question or any comment or clarification? So principle of territoriality So if an originating product exported to from a state party to a third party returns, it shall be considered as non-originating unless it can be proven to the satisfaction of the customs authority that the returning product is the same as the one that was exported, or which has not undergone any operations beyond that which was necessary to preserve it in good condition. So if a product is originating and we take it maybe to another country which is not a member, remember, we can accumulate processes and materials in AfCFTA. But maybe we want to export these originating goods to Malaysia, maybe to be packed and then brought back to our state party, and then we can export. We'll find that that product is going to be treated as non-originating unless we can prove that it's the same product that was exported, and whatever processes is it underwent in the third country is just an insufficient process, like maybe packaging. So you find that that one can be considered that the product will still maintain its origin. But if the process that it underwent in the third party is a substantial transformation, then that product is going to be considered non-originating. So it has to be proven that the same product that left the country is the same one that we are importing it back. So to show that it's still maintaining its origin status. And then that's it for determining origin. So we have some exercise. But before we get to the exercise, I'll share Appendix 4. So that's Appendix 4. I hope you are able to see Appendix 4. So Idrissa is saying, I advise that the certificate of origin should state the country of origin, non-originating materials of the product, materials outsourced during production when presented at the forefront to facilitate an easy decision. So thank you, Idrissa, for that. So Appendix 4 is where we have the product-specific rule or the origin criteria that are applicable for different products. And you'll find that before we get to the specific rule, there are explanation or notes that we need to keep in mind. So the rules, so it tells us note 1, the rules set out in column 3 of this appendix are the minimum conditions required for the concerned product to be considered as sufficiently worked or processed within the meaning of paragraph 2 of Article 6 of Annex 2 on rules of origin. So column 3 is where we get the product-specific rule when they are done to non-originating materials, which will enable the goods to acquire origin. There are also some examples that are given in Appendix 4. So, but they're saying these examples are not legally binding. It's just to highlight maybe the determination of origin, but they're not going, you are not going to refer to them as, I saw that example in Appendix 4. So it means it's binding. It's not binding. So it's just an example to illustrate further on how to determine the origin of the goods. So you'll find that there in the first column, we have the HS heading or the HS subheading or chapter. So you'll find that in some of them, you will find that there is a word EX that is written before that chapter. So it can be EX 23. So when we have an EX, it shows that in that chapter, there are some exception relating to the product specific rule. So when we get to the table itself, I'll show you how the EX work. So EX, it means there are some exceptions. So we'll see how to explain that. So we have EX, and then we find that there are other places. The heading or the subheading is going to have a square bracket. So the square bracket means the rules have not been agreed. So you find that you'll have maybe a HS heading in square bracket or a HS chapter in square bracket. If we have a bracket, it means the rules have not yet been agreed. Remember, we are at 92%, so there's still some more tariff lines to be agreed or to have origin criteria. So we have one where there is an example. So remember, an example is just to illustrate, but it's not binding. And then some of the heading or chapter or subheading, you'll find that there is an asterisk. So an asterisk will just say when that origin criteria or that rule was agreed. Maybe it was a meeting, maybe a subcommittee of rules of origin meeting held on which date. So that's just to specify when it was agreed. And then we have specific processes for Note 4. So for purposes of heading 2707 and 2713, the following are the specific processes: vacuum distillation, redistillation, cracking. So they specify which are the specific processes. And then we have textiles. So textiles has a lot of explanation. Remember, that's where we have a lot of rules that are still missing or which are yet to be agreed. And then we have so it specifies when it says a specific process, a specific materials to be used. So those are the explanation. So that's a lot of example for the textiles. And then chemical processing rules to confer originating status. So still explanation. And then now we get to the rules themselves. So we are now in the actual table where we can see the origin rules. So we have chapter, HS heading or subheading, and then description of the product, and then working or processing carried out on originating materials, which confers originating status. So for us to be able to determine the origin criteria that is applicable, we need to know either the HS heading or subheading or chapter of the product. So remember, we say we don't do rules of origin in isolation. We need the other aspect of customs in determining our origin. And we say origin, valuation, and classification, they go hand in hand. We have seen where we get the values to determine material content criteria. We need the HS classification to know which applicable criteria is going to be used to determine whether the goods are going to be originating or not. So For chapter 1, live animals. So for live animals, we expect they should be wholly obtained. So you cannot say that when you get a certificate of origin and someone has imported or has brought in animal, you don't expect you will get another origin criteria other than wholly obtained. So we have chapter 3, there's a number here, superscript. So the superscript says adopted by the 5th meeting of the AfCFTA Council of Ministers on 3rd May 2021. So it's just to show when it was maybe agreed. And then we have an EX, but we don't have the exceptions themselves. So you'll find that on the 3rd column, we get the origin criteria that is applicable. So let me see where we can get. If chapter 9, you can see there's a EX. Okay, so we have our first EX that has actual exception. So I hope everyone can see EX chapter 9. So coffee, tea, meat, and spices. So manufacture in which all materials of this chapter used must be wholly obtained. So it means in chapter 9, this is the criteria. But when we have this EX, it means there are some exception, that there are some headings in chapter 9 that will have a different classification from the general chapter. So the general chapter criteria is manufacture in which all materials of this chapter used must be wholly obtained. So the exceptions, we have heading 910. So we have ginger, saffron, turmeric, thyme, and the rest. Manufacture in which material used must be wholly obtained. So they still have the same. So subheading 91091. So we have mixtures. So they are mixtures. So maybe some of these spices are mixed. So manufacture in which materials used must be wholly obtained. So when we get an EX, it means there are some heading or subheadings that will have a different criteria. But even though this chapter 9 we have an EX, we still find that they have the same criteria. So we look at if maybe we can get another that has a different I think we have 11. There's an EX in 11. So the general chapter rule is product of the milling industry. So manufacture in which all materials of chapter 7, 8, and 10 use must be wholly obtained. And since there's an EX, there are some exception. So 1101, manufacture from materials of any heading other than that of the product. So that's an exception. So it says manufacture from materials of any heading, while the general rule for chapter 11 is manufacture in which all the material used must be wholly obtained. So that becomes a clear exception, that when you have 1101, then the applicable origin is this, while if maybe the specific heading or subheading is not specified, we will take the general chapter rule. So we have several for 11. So 1103, 11. So manufacture from materials of any heading. So it's a CTH. 1104, 1107. So you find that they have a different heading to the chapter origin criteria. So that's when we have EX, it means there are some tariff lines, either heading or subheading, that will have a different origin criteria. So that's EX. So when you see EX, then you will have to see which heading or subheading is exempted. See, if we have the ones that are not yet agreed, so we go to around, okay. So this one's up. So we have chapter 52, this EX. So cotton, manufacture in which material used must be wholly obtained. So we have exception 5204, the square bracket. So yet to be agreed. So these ones, when they're traded, they'll be traded at a most favored nation tariff rate. 5205, yet to be agreed. So that's where we have the textiles issues where we don't have the rules as of yet. So same. And then for some of the textiles, you'll find that that's where we get the specific rules. Manufacture from materials classified in a heading other than that of the product, or spinning of natural fibers, or exclusion of man-made fibers. So you'll find that we have specific rules yet to be agreed. So that's square bracket. So let me see where we have the second-hand clothing. 63. So here we get 6309, worn clothing and other worn articles. So the person who was asking about second-hand clothes, there's no rule. So we are not going to be trading on second-hand clothing. So that's why there's no rule. And then also 6310, used or new rags, scrap twine, cordage, rope, and cables, and worn out articles of twine, cordage, rope, or cables of textile materials. So there are no rules. So items in 6309 and 6310, we are not going to be trading them under preferential terms or arrangement in the AfCFTA. So we have, so it was adopted in the second extraordinary meeting. That's why we have the superscript 43 and 44. So basically, when we want to know which are the applicable rules, so we need first to start off with the chapter or heading or subheading, and then now we find which are applicable criteria for that product to be conferred origin. So that's Appendix 4. So any question in determination of origin from Appendix 4 and also from what we had looked in Annex 2? Okay, Stefano is saying repeat on the EX, which is indicated in chapter and some headings, e.g. EX chapter 864. So let me reshare again. So EX, we get an EX. Good. We have Tanzanite, it has an EX. So we have EX 71. So here it is. So we have 71, okay, chapter 71. So natural or cultured pearls, precious or semi-precious stones. So manufacture from materials of any heading other than that of the product, or manufacture in which the value of all material used does not exceed 60% of the ex-works price. And then now we have some exception, though it was not written EX, but we can see there are some exception under 71. So natural pearls, and worked cultured pearl, worked cultured pearl. So you find that manufacture 710121, manufacture in which materials of this chapter used must be wholly obtained. And then 710122, worked cultured pearls, manufacture from unworked precious or semi-precious stones. So you'll find that it's an exception from the general rule that is applicable maybe to a heading or a chapter. So diamonds, manufacture from unworked precious or semi-precious stones. So we have EX 7103. So there are some exception in 7103. So when you see an EX, maybe it's for a heading, then it means the exception will be in relation to a subheading. If the EX is in relation to a chapter, then the exception will be in relation to a heading or subheading. So EX 7103, precious stones, excluding diamonds. So manufacture from unworked precious or semi-precious stones. And then we have exception 710310, Tanzanite, manufacture in which all materials used must be wholly obtained. So I think that's a very appropriate example, Stefano, Tanzanite. Okay, so the square bracket means the rules are yet to be agreed. So maybe there are issues that the members have yet to agree. So we go back to textiles. So that's where we have a lot of yet to be agreed. So 6303, there's a square bracket. So curtains, that's the description of the goods. And then the rules is yet to be agreed. So the members have not agreed on which origin criteria is going to be applicable when you use non-originating material to make curtains. So when the curtains are traded, they'll be traded under most favored nation treatment. So I hope, Cynthia, you're okay. So that's square bracket. So the rules are yet to be agreed. But remember, for the second hand or the worn clothing, there are no rules. So worn clothing 6309, there's no rule. So it means that when you are trading on worn clothing, those are most favored nation treatment. At least for the square bracket, maybe the members will agree later that these are the origin criteria applicable for those tariff lines. Sandra, you are saying, do we use or refer to Appendix 4 for all products, including wholly obtained of Article 5, or it's used for sufficiently worked product? So you find that we use Annex 2 and Appendix 4, but we'll find that for the sufficiently worked product where we are using non-originating material, we must refer to Appendix 4. But for the wholly obtained, you will find that they are supposed to be wholly obtained, but they will point out, because you'll find that people may still bring in non-originating animals. So you find that we still need Annex 2, but also Appendix 4. So it's applicable to all, but mostly we can say for those goods that incorporate non-originating materials. But for the wholly obtained, you'll find that it's a bit easier, because you'll find that Annex 2, Rule 5 already specify what is considered wholly obtained. So I hope you're okay, Sandra. And then under the AfCFTA, is there exception list separate from what has been shared? So the exception list, we find that I think for these ones where the rules are, unless you're asking for the ones that are different from the general rule, where we have the EX, Cynthia, maybe if you can reframe the question. And then Sambeni, you're saying 710310, the rule applies for all the stones classified in subheading except for Tanzanite. Yes. So when you find EX, it means there are some exception. So you look at the specific exception, what it says for that either subheading or heading. So the exception are also still in the same appendix 4. So any other clarification? So appendix 4, annex 2. So those are our reference point. So we have some exercises. Maybe I can prepare some breakout rooms so that we move to breakout rooms and see if we are able to discuss some of those questions and see if we are able to determine the origin of the good. I hope that will be okay. So I create breakout rooms. Let me see how many we are. And then already the exercises are on the course page for day 3. So we have exercise 1 and exercise 2. So if it's okay, I can create the breakout rooms. Maybe we can get a 5-minute break. So kind of a breather before we create the breakout room. And in case maybe there's any issue to be clarified, we can clarify before we move to the breakout rooms. So 5 minutes while we breathe in and out, and then we go to the breakout rooms. So let me share the exercises so that you can see them, but they're already on the course page. So that when you open the course page, the exercises are on day 3. So we are on day 3. So you'll find that we have 2 exercises. So see if you can be able to discuss them. Maybe we'll take a longer break, maybe 1 hour, and then you can come back. So the afternoon session, you can be able to do the discussion. And then for the countries that are doing an extra presentation, already the country exercises are below the self-learning module. So under the self-learning module, you will see there is country exercise 1 and then country exercise 2. So for the ones who are more than 10 members, you can pick out one of the exercise also to do a presentation. So I'll share the can be able to see the exercises. So that's one of the exercise, the class exercise. So already for this one, there are some extracts from the appendix 4. So you determine the origin. So this also a good EX example. So EX chapter 39, and then the exception is on chapter, it's on heading 39:15. So it has a different heading from the chapter heading. So that's one of the exercise. So you find that on the course page. It's written exercise 1, class exercise 1, and then we have class exercise 2. So for this one, you will look at the origin criteria yourself from the appendix 4. So that's the 2 exercises. Let me see if I can be able to copy them, the link, so that maybe you can be able to access. So maybe we can take a break. I'll just prepare the breakout room. So we have a longer break, like 1 hour or 1.5, and then we can come back to the breakout rooms and then do the discussion in the different breakout room for the afternoon. I hope most of us have done the self-learning module. So that will be what we're going to do for the afternoon, determining origin. And then we will share this, the results of our finding tomorrow morning before we look at registration of the exporters and then proof of origin. And also, hopefully, we can also look at advanced ruling so that on Friday, we are on the presentation and later in the listening in on the AfCFTA update. So let me see if I can be able to copy the link for the exercises so that you can access them. And then also I will create the breakout room so that when you come back from that long break, maybe if you want to go for lunch or maybe take a rest a bit, then you will be able to get back to the breakout rooms. So here, I think hopefully it will open. Stefano, you're going to be our guinea pig. Maybe you can try if the link will open to one of the exercises. So that's one of the exercises, and then let me open the other one. Oops. Then I think you just open the course page, and then when you get to the course page, look at day 3. So day 3 presentation is where you find that. Okay. So Judith, you're asking which countries are doing the 2 exercises that are under the self-learning module, the country exercises. I think Uganda had more members. I think Tanzania also, there are more members, more than 10. Which country has more than 10 members? Any country that they know the numbers, more than 10? Oh, okay. Another thing I can do is I'll try to share on WhatsApp group the exercise. So let me send to the WhatsApp group the exercises, and then also I create the breakout room so that when you come back from the long break, we can agree either we come back after 1 hour or after 1.5 hours, and then you'll be in your groups. So we can just, I can create the groups so that you know the breakout room that you are in, and then we can take the 1 or 1.5 hours break, or you can agree amongst yourself in your breakout room how long break you want, or you can continue if you want, and then you can do it as a group. So I'll share the exercise on WhatsApp. So let me first create the breakout room. When you open, let me see, share. Is it? So this is the course page. So you'll find that on the left side. So we have self-learning module. Under self-learning module, we'll have the country presentation, exercise 1 and exercise 2 for the ones for countries with more than 10 members. So you can pick one of the 2 exercises, do on top of the country presentation. And then after the reference document, we have day 1 presentation, day 2 presentation, and then we have day 3 presentation. So day 3 presentation, when you click class exercise 1, that's the one that's open. And then we have also exercise 2 still in day 3. So day 3, we have the 2 exercises. So we'll do them in breakout room. So I'll create the breakout room so that when you take that long break, maybe 1 hour, when you come back, you know who are the members that you are in the same group. You can also decide if maybe you are able to create a WhatsApp group to do the discussion. But what we want is you get to discuss with the other members in the group. So we are around 123. Let me create breakout room. 10 members is okay. So we create 12. So I'm going to create 12 breakout rooms. So we have 12 groups, maybe around 10 participants. Okay. So 12 groups I'm going to create, and then each member is going to be assigned automatically to one of the groups. So you can decide whether you continue, you take a break, or you just move out to WhatsApp to do the discussion. So I've created the breakout room for 4 hours. Hopefully we'll be done by then. If you finish earlier, that's okay. You can break for the day. If you're not done, you can continue maybe by WhatsApp, or we'll continue tomorrow early enough. So going to So I've created the 12 breakout rooms. Find yourself in a room and know who are the members, and then we can come back after lunch. Sophia, you'll see, I think you'll get a notification to tell you join a room. So let me see which room you're in. Sophia. So I will share the presentation for today. Already day 1 and day 2 are there. The recording for yesterday we have, but it's a bit a large file. So we are finding way to compress so that we can also put it in the course page. But the presentation I'll share in a few moments for today, but yesterday's presentation is already there. Okay, let me search where you are. So find yourself in a breakout room. So Sophia, let me see where I can. Okay, thank you, Sophia, that you're in. So find yourself, agree with the members that are already in, how you're going to do it. You can take a break and then come back and continue. Or you can just move to WhatsApp, or you find a way you can be able to discuss.